What's up, guys? Welcome back into the Millennial Prophet. So today I wanted to start a new series, kind of a monthly series of just answering your guys' most common YouTube questions. I try to get on YouTube like once or twice a week, sit down on my computer and answer all the questions as best as I can, but not everyone probably sees this, so I thought I would make this series to just kind of answer your most commonly asked questions. I'll put the timestamps down below, so if you're interested in hopping around to different questions, you can do that if you please. Anyways, though, let's start off with the first question from Jonathan. Is it bad if the weight is a little over? I know this is on a Mercari video. However, this can apply to any platform you're selling on and any of the shipping fees. Yes, it is bad if the weight is over. So say the item weighs 2 pounds, 2 ounces, and you only use 2 pounds on the label, you're going to get surcharged for that. And what do I mean by surcharge? It means on the back end, USPS, UPS, FedEx, whoever you're shipping with is likely going to surcharge you for that amount you didn't pay. Some of them will just do for that difference. Some of them will charge you the whole retail rate. So you always want to make sure that you're rounding up. The way weights work on eBay, if it's under 1 pound, the thresholds where the price goes up are 4, 8, 12, and 15.9 ounces. So something's 10 ounces, just round it up to 12 ounces. Don't round it down or you're going to get surcharged. And then if it's over 1 pound, the thresholds are by the pound. So 2 pounds, 3 pounds, 4 pounds. So if it's 2 pounds, 6 ounces, round up to 3 pounds, not down, unless you want to get surcharged. Next question. Hey, would you recommend an eBay store for someone that will pass over free listings a month? I've been on eBay now for 8 months and was considering a store for extra listings. Based on your experience, do you feel it's worth upgrading to a basic store that offers 1,000 listings for $28 a month, or just pay the 40 cents per extra listing without a subscription? Thanks. That is a great question, and I actually made a video on that last month, so I'll link that above. And in that video, I basically talk about how many listings past that store you have to go in insertion fees until it becomes more costly than just upgrading to the next store. And I looked back on this one before filming this, and it was 307 listings. So once you hit 307 listings, then it makes sense to upgrade to that 1,000 listing subscription. Next question. So this guy offers free shipping. Otherwise, who cares what the buyer pays? Am I wrong? Yes, this guy does offer free shipping on most of my items. See, the thing a lot of people don't think about is actually pricing your items in market. If you want to make sales, you have to make sure you're pricing at trending rates. If an item is trending at $40 free shipping, nobody's going to buy yours for $40 plus shipping. So you'd want to do $40 free shipping or $32 plus $8 shipping. I think a lot of people just want to list it as something and then do calculated shipping so that they're not out anything. But that's not the best way to make sales because calculated shipping is very costly for buyers. So no matter what you do, if you want to make sales and price in those trending rates, you need to make sure you know what things cost to ship. You can do this by playing around with the eBay shipping calculator. You can put in exact zip codes, you can put in weights and dimensions, and this is how you learn how much things are going to cost to ship. Always put in from your zip code to the furthest zip code it could go to. For me, that's Ohio to California. That way you can build that worst case scenario shipping into your price. If it doesn't make sense, then don't buy. Next, Charlie asks, do you take pictures with an iPhone or do you use a professional camera? I've seen a lot of resellers say that they use like professional cameras and everything, but no, I just use my phone. I've got a Pro Max, but you don't even need that. I had like an iPhone 5C for a while that I was running it on. Like the cameras are so good on these. There's no reason, in my opinion, to get a professional camera. If you want to do that, go for it. I also just take pictures directly in the eBay app. I know a lot of people will take them and list on the computer. I list on my app, so that's just what works for me. But yeah, I use my phone and I do it directly through the mobile app. Another question from Charlie. Adam, what's your top selling item? And I mean like category wise. Is it t-shirts, hats, toys? Wondering so I can pick an item to start off with that sells well. Thank you. Well, my top category is definitely hats, but that is not where I would recommend a lot of people sell. I also sell a lot of shoes. Those sell through a lot quicker than hats and have more defined markets. So shoes are a good area to get started in, as well as clothing. Clothing doesn't sell through necessarily super well, but if you're in like the used clothing game, it's a very cheap market to get into. So your buy cost is very low. So that's another place I recommend. Toys aren't bad. If you can get the margins up on them, they will sell fast. Electronics sell really fast. Video games, it's just tough tougher to find those than other categories. But yeah, with hats, that's definitely my bread and butter, but I would not recommend starting there because they sell through super slow. You got to be very knowledgeable about the teams, the brands, and there's not necessarily defined markets. There's so many different styles of hats that it really all comes down to your knowledge in that. And even if you have good knowledge in that, a lot of times they're still going to take like 6 months to 2 years to sell. So it's a very long-term category that I wouldn't recommend starting in. Charlie's on a roll here. Question for you. You said you use free shipping, but let's say you have more than one of the same item. If you had like 5 boots brand new and you use the free shipping, wouldn't that increase the price heavily? Or how do you do it for multiple items in terms of free shipping? That's a good question. Another place that you can use the eBay shipping calculator while you're learning shipping. But let's do the math here. Let's say that each of the boots costs the least that it could cost, which would be like $8. They'd be anywhere between like $8 to $12 because they're like 3 to 5 pounds. So let's just say they're all $8 to ship. They're all close. That would be $40 to ship all those. However, if I could ship them all together, as long as it's not going to California or all the way out west, it's going to cost me anywhere between like $20 to $25 to ship. If it's going to California, we're probably going to be closer to like $40 to ship 5 pairs of boots. But still, that would be the same amount as if we sold them all individually. And most likely, they're not going out there. So we would end up actually making a little more money because we were able to combine that shipping. Next question from Flag City Parts. Where do you get your boxes for hats from, and what are the dimensions, 8 by 8 by 10 or 8 by 8 by 8? My buddy owns an auction house and buys bulk from Uline. I actually use 8 by 6 by 6. I've got a video on how to ship hats that I will link above that I show how to fit the hats in these boxes. You kind of have to put them in on an angle, but they don't bend or anything, and it's perfect. And I get them from either Amazon, Staples, or Zorro. I've linked links down below for all the supplies that I buy. Next question comes from Patrick. Question about Nike shoes without a box. Is it safe to list as new without box, or do you have to use new with defects to protect yourself? I've heard conflicting stories. No, don't use new with defects. Use new without box. If you do new with defects, you're going to limit your audience quite a bit. There's no reason to do that. Also, a question I've got that's similar to this is typically if someone gets a box that is cut off, like say you're buying it at Kohl's or Marshall's and they cut the lid off, don't list those new with box. To be new with box, it has to have the entire box. So list those as new without box either. And I wouldn't even recommend showing the half box because it could just cause more problems down the road. Just list as new without box, picture the shoes without the box. All right, next question. Hi, I would like to know, do we pay any fees on products that hasn't sold and they're on listing for weeks? So that has to go back with the eBay stores. You get so many free listings. So if you're over those free listings, yeah, you're going to be paying insertion fees. I would recommend checking that video out as well. It just has to do with the amount of total listings you have up. All right, next one. And what to do with listings which have sold some quantity and became popular, but now it does not have any views or watchers and no sales at all. What do you do with these kind of listings? So this comes from a video where I'm talking about pulling down stale listings, selling similar, changing the title and getting them back up, as that's how you boost your stale listings. And that's a very good question. And I think it's really up to the amount of views and watchers your item has. Say it's been up for like 6 months and you've got 8 watchers and it's still getting actively viewed, I would leave that up. However, if it's got like 16 watchers, it's been up for 2 years and you've not had a single bite and you got like multi-quantity of it, yeah, it's definitely time to pull it down. Typically, if my items don't have any watchers after like 4 or 5 months, I'll pull them down and do the stale, sell similar trick. But if it's got a lot of watchers, I'm typically going to leave it up and let it ride for a while. But yeah, if it's been like years, it's time to pull it down and try it again. This is a good one I've gotten a lot. So the Camo Preacher asks, hey Adam, you said you print your labels ahead of time. How do you do that exactly while keeping up with which label goes with what? Like, do you pull your inventory first or print a string of labels and then go pull? Just can't see how you keep it all organized. Yeah, I'm not necessarily the most organized. I don't know if I would recommend my process for everyone else, but it does work for me. So basically, I print my labels every night at home, and then I go to my warehouse and I pack it all. So how I keep it organized is basically I print my labels one by one. I don't print them in a long strand like a lot of other people do. I do it one by one, and then on the back, I write what the item is. If it's shoes, I'll write that style code, the color of the box, and the size. So I sort in my warehouse for my shoes. Like I've got my red Nikes, I've got my orange Nikes, I've got all my Adidas, Under Armour, everything is with shoes that it's like. So If it's Nike, I'll write the color of the box. If it's just like Under Armour, I'll write UA, the size, and the style code, because that's basically skewed. For the hats, I have bins that are labeled, and I'm going to make a video on all this because I've gotten a lot of question on my inventory system. I'm going to make a separate video on just how I inventory my hats and how I inventory my shoes and everything, just in case you want to use anything that I do. You don't have to, but everyone's always curious about that, so I figured I would make that. But anyways, for the hats, I have them all labeled A, B, C, D. So on the back of the label, I'll write Orioles hat, orange, black, this size, this tub, and then pull it. So basically, then I have all my labels in a stack. I sort them in the parts of the warehouse that they're by. And then when I go pick them, I grab this stack. I'm going to that part of the warehouse, put it in the hat, put it in the shoe box, whatever I'm getting, take it back to the desk, go to the next one, repeat. It's just what works for me. Again, I'll make a whole video on that. Charlie is coming in with another question. I love it. These are great questions. What percent do you put on promoted listings? I personally put 2% on anything I promote, but I only promote things that have high competition. If it doesn't have any competition, or like say I'm selling a hat and nobody else has anything like it out there, I typically don't promote. But if it's got high competition, I'll promote it 2%. eBay is now like recommending that people do like 11 or 16%, some crazy amounts like this. If you're paying that as well as like the 15% fee, you're paying 30% on your items. Unless your margins are super high, I can't see how that makes sense. And I personally think it's just a money grab by eBay. I've had good luck just selling 2%. Next question comes from Ron. So when you are listing your items, do you put each item, maybe not the hats, on a scale with a cardboard box so you know what the weight to charge for shipping? So I typically just sell like hats, shoes, Crocs, some clothing. So I pretty much know the weights on everything. If it's a pair of shoes and it's like men's size 10 and under, even with the box, they're typically under 2 pounds. If when I'm listing it, I feel that it's not, then I will go weigh it if it feels a little different. But if it's over that, it's usually like the 3 pound rate. Hats in a box are always the 8 ounce rate. So yeah, if you're selling a bunch of random stuff, you're definitely going to want to weigh it with the shipping supplies ahead of time. But the more you sell, and once you get your like niche down and you're selling the same types of things, you pretty much know what the weights are on things. Obviously, you've got to double check them when you go to print your labels. But if you're listing the same things, the weights are pretty much going to be the same. Now let's end it with a couple funny comments. So we got full-time online since 1999. I think I'd quit if I only made 120K profit per year. The funny thing is that is actually just the title applying to that weekend of sales, which was like $330 per day. It was over like 3 days. And then if you multiplied that out, it was 120K per year. I actually make a decent bit over that. That was just applying to that video. That's just one of my common titles that's worked, so I've kind of just copied it. But even if I was just making 120K profit a year, I would be very happy with that. Like, who's not happy with that? Working for yourself to make 120K per year and you would have quit by now? It's just funny, man. Next one, what a hypocrite church boy taking advantage of people. It's so funny because I share my faith in Jesus Christ on this channel and it causes a lot of hate comments, which is actually crazy. Like, hate on me all you want, but don't hate on my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He deserves none of the blame. He died for our sins and wants a relationship with you. I don't care. You can hold against me all you want, but don't bring him into it. And I'm not claiming to be perfect by any means. I am far from perfect, but I'm saved by grace through faith. All right, and last one is the Bread and Butter site where it offers $100 for life. Is that for lifetime access to Bread and Butter, or is that just the course? So if you go to our website, we've got like 3 different options. We got like a $20 option that you can just get the chat channels in the Discord. Then we've got our most popular option, the $39 option. That's for full Discord access with all of the leads. You also get the eBay course in that for as long as you're in the group. And then we got the $100 option, and that's just for the course, but lifetime access for that. So no, to answer your question, no, that does not get you lifetime access to Bread and Butter. That gets you lifetime access to the course. So if you're interested in joining Bread and Butter, you can check that out. First link in the description. We post daily in-store and online leads in there, as well as that eBay course for as long as you're in there. So hopefully this video was helpful to you guys. If you have any questions that you've never seen me answer or any videos you want to see made, feel free to comment those down below and I will try to feature them on next month's episode of this. I don't really have a title for this, but maybe we'll come up with a title for this series. If you have an idea for that as well, let me know down below. There's money to be made everywhere, guys. Let's go get it. Thank you for watching The Millennial Prophet.